as it happened here, like I told you before, there are lots of regions here. It's bisected and divided into different regions, but under one kingdom. Now he was trying to tell you about the next kingdom. Actually, to break the record is the kingdom where oil has been found here in Uganda, and most people call it the oil city sometimes. But yeah, before we proceed with the matter on the table today, let's continue. So this very man who's going to talk to you is the main man behind this issue, and Alba. So he's the one who's going to be telling us a lot about what we need to know about this particular kingdom of the struggle and the operation from the government and those in power. Please.
Yeah, I'm called Mpenzi Rico. I'm the CEO of an organization called Uganda Liberation Agency, bracket Telephone. This organization was strictly registered to address the fundamental rights of the Indigenous Manyoro in the Nyoro sub-region. We are the people who resisted colonialism with our forefathers, but we paid a price when the British government raided our ancestors and killed a tune of 2.4 million from this homeland and subjected others to forced assimilation, including devastating our cattle, robbing our timbers, robbing everything, and then subjected our ancestral land into alien land tenure systems. Until today, we are faced with that problem. That's why we decided to use courts of law to try to address this historical injustice which has refused to be addressed for more than 57 years since this country got independence. That's why we are operating in this sub-region. This sub-region is comprised of 8 districts. But now, even the land that was annexed to Uganda is bigger than what we occupy under the agreement which was drawn between the Buganda allies and the Queen of England that still affects us now. We are in courts of law in order to adjudicate and get judicial declarations over this historical justice that has been politicized for so many years since this country got independence in 1962. We have seen if we don't address this, even the future of Uganda is nowhere. Exactly. Because you cannot build a foundation of the country based on a lie. Mm-hmm. So many things we have discovered that even the governments or the presidents of this country are actually administrators of the colonial Uganda.
Exactly.
They were told, as if actually I was told there is an agreement which any president of Uganda signs before he's allowed to be the president of this republic, secretly in London. And that's why each and every election the president has to fly to London and append his signature on that. These things are real. We want the world to know. People knew that Hitler killed so many Jews, and they thought that was the worst genocide. We are now telling the world, British soldiers killed 2.4 million Banyoro here, subject the rest into forced assimilation. They did all sorts of things, including force them to change their names, renaming their villages, baptizing them. Actually, even went to the religion.
To religion,
yes. Even the priests by then could not actually baptize a child having a Kinyoro name. So it was war.
Hold on there. Yes. Now, if you listen to this strongly, we've had these very ideas happening where in the United States of America, where the black people have been marginalized and so much a surprise to the way that they do not have their ancestral names. and that's why black people really don't know where they come from. I feel like this was trying to be brought here on this strong kingdom. By the way, for the record, this is one of the greatest kingdoms in entire of the world, I should say. But it was marginalized and so suppressed by the colonizers and the government, which is acting in response with the colonizers at hand. But yes, when he tells us that the names, they were not allowed to be baptized having their native names, that means they do not want them to have their identity as people from this kingdom. Should we have now, that raises a question of you, the viewers. Did the British want to strictly and successfully accomplish in finishing this entire kingdom with no location or with no identification, and to make it perish from the entire surface of this world? That's the question actually I posed in my mind when he told me they used not to allow them to have their native names when they are being baptized, because our native names identify and signify who we are and where we come from.
Even going to school, by the way, it was war. You wouldn't have gone to school with a Kenyan name. They would not allow. But actually we have just discovered that Britain was avoiding of any civilized Munyoro who would dig into their archives and found out all this genocide that was committed here. After committing this genocide, the British directed, and it is still, and their directive is still operational, that most of our ancestral land being turned into game reserves, forest reserves, because our ancestors used to build in a communal process. Mm-hmm. One clan could occupy a square mile, and another one can occupy another 2 square miles. So we were actually we used to build in clans. Mm. So these people came and raided those clans as they are being organized and built. And then after killing all of them, they directed that now this land is now a forest reserve. Even up to today, you will find in a country called Uganda, it is only the Bunyoro sub-region that has the most, so many forest reserves and game reserves in this country, Uganda. But what were they trying to do? They were intending to hide so that these forests could, actually the trees can grow up and bury the skulls of these people.
Of the genocide.
So that the evidence would cease. And indeed, when these people dig in these game reserves, they discover a lot of skulls. Skeletons, yes, broken pots and everything, knives and everything. So this is what they were intending to hide. But the good thing, we have uncovered it, and when we brought it to the light of the world, the Queen was here in 2007. She decided to conceal this through the government and directed that a amount equivalent to 700 million pounds be channeled through the government, the central government, and be given to us in order to silence other colonial areas where these people committed crimes, so that we should not awaken them. Now we want the world to know. So we are now awakening the world actually by doing this.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah. So now we are looking at the major funny, I should call it a little bit funny, but again so very appalling and alarming. When you look at the Queen herself coming along in this very country and trying to bribe these people not to speak out what actually happened. I always tell you that we do not sell who we are, and an African, and more especially Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom, is not out for sale. We do not negotiate our heritage, and they do not negotiate who they are. They are here to protect their legacy. So it's so very quite appalling for the king herself to come down and think that he's going to give them all that sum of money, which was later. Let him continue telling you what happened.
Of course, the money was channeled through the government, and the government decided to use it. Without shame, the government decided to use the 700 million pounds that was supposed to have been paid to us as operation fees, and then used it for itself. So we are actually calling the British. We are calling on the British citizens. It was Gordon Brown, by then who was the Prime Minister, who concluded this with the Foreign Affairs Minister of Uganda and with a group of politicians from the Indigenous region who had no mandate even to decide the deal, between us and the Queen, and directed the funds to money. It never reached us. That's why we are constituting a team. We have already constituted a team of QCs in London to take over this case afresh against the Queen of England. We cannot sit behind and be judged by the evils done by the British. This Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom has a history of more than 3,000 years ago. We had everything. We were making our iron ore, we had our medicine, we have everything. But what the British did when they could come here, they used to cut people from here, from this.
From their horizon.
Yes, and then from the thighs of their legs, and then they leave people to bleed until they die.
Well, we should be making a documentary
Yes,
about
we want the world to know,
matter.
and we want the world. We are actually calling the world to come to our rescue. When we are trying to fight, government is interfering. Government agencies are interfering with us because the money that they got, I think now they feel so shame. They cannot vomit the money, and they cannot tell the Queen, no, we never passed over this money to these people. So we are now being seen as if we are a threat to the government.
Like they're being seen like rebels who are
yes, exactly,
against
yeah.
the government.
Because of doing the right thing. Yes. So what we are going to, what we swear not to do, we are not going to give up. We are not going to give up. It's our right. We have to protect our ancestral heritage. We have to protect our culture. When we started praising and doing our cultural things, calling our ancestors to come, a certain minister called the Ernest Kiza of New Affairs started going to the radios, started using RDCs and the police to raid us and do everything. We are under.
We are under political attack.
Yes, we are under political attack. Exactly, we are also under a system which is intended to dispossess us from this region because they have discovered huge deposits of oil, uranium, and natural gas.
You're holding that.
Yes.
Now, if you look at, like you say, the government is so very much trying to to get them, to dispossess them and move them away from this very place because a lot of minerals have been discovered in this very land. By the way, to make a note and remind you that this is a place on the record, by the way, I should recall that, and I should be a little bit precise and critically emphasize on this. On the record, this is a place where the fastest virus was introduced in the entire world before all your doctors knew how to have surgeons and make women get back. This is the kingdom you all hear about. All these surgeons and all this giving back, this various kind of bath was discovered from this place in this particular place. So this place is very prominent and it is a very historical. It was civilized before even the white men came here. But yeah, like we all know what they do to us. I know you're watching that. Thank you very much for watching and staying around here. We really have a lot of things to get you away, but I think we should well continue a little bit as you also wait for this documentary on how the British people massacred the people of this place with me, Mpenzi African, and I'm going to bring this your way shortly. But